All right, on today's video, I need to take a Dyna Fender and extend it to match another Fender. I'll flip the camera around and show you that. So this guy rides wheelies and he wants this Fender to be as long as this Fender, but then have this block be parallel to the ground so that it scrapes on the ground when he's doing wheelies. So what I'm gonna do is cut the back of this off and then section a chunk out of this fender to weld onto this fender to extend it. He also wants me to weld a thick washer on the back of here so that it's a little stronger, a little more braced up. So I just have to throw the rubber in there. So just have to grind all this up and weld one in there. This also has to be braced on the inside, but I'll build the brace after I get it all cut and the way the guy wants it. All right, we're gonna start by cutting the back of this off. Clean that up a little bit. Piece of an old brace there. This is undercoated, so we'll have to clean all this off. probably gonna retape this back a little further because I had to rip that to get the chunk of metal out of there. So I'll retape this line, make that a nice perfect line now that this is out of there. I might reuse this for the new back. Maybe it might be kind of a pain because this brace, but we'll see. All right, just got some tape here. We're just gonna clean that line up a little bit. On these rounded surfaces, a lot of times how I'll measure stuff, since I know these holes those should be pretty square. A lot of times I'll just use tape. You can see I was pretty close. Not perfect. There might be a better way to do this. I'm not really sure. It's just how I do it. All this stuff, all this metal work, most of it I'm self-taught, other than watching, YouTube videos or stuff like that. All right, perfect. Gloves on, and we'll cut this. Also, I bought these glasses. They're supposed to be anti-fog. They're not. They fog up all the time. It drives me nuts. If anybody knows of any good safety glasses that are actual anti-fog, that'd be great. Make sure the tape's pushed down, and then we'll trim this off. Okay, tape off. Just gonna get a hammer and dolly real quick. Flatten this out. That I'll just fill with weld. That's not a big deal. Take my angle grinder. Just clean these edges up again. Okay. I also ground that back here. We'll clean up this fender later, but just Might have to actually grind that a little more now that I think about it. For that washer. This is the washer I'm going to use. Just take weld it to the back of that. Clean this washer up too. Oops, slip a little sucker. Do the back side of it. Cleaner you make stuff, the better it welds. Alright. So now I want to use a wheelie, something like that. Now we just have to make it as long as this fender. Which I don't think it has to be crazy precise, just kind of in the realm. It's not that far off of it, to be honest. I might cut this structure out of here, unbolt this block, and then I can cut the back of this off and weld that to this. Let me, I'm gonna cut this, I'm gonna take the block off first. By the way, if you have a Craftsman ratchet and it breaks, send them a message on social media page, Facebook or Instagram, with a picture of your ratchet, and that doesn't work, they'll send you a free brand new one. Light or something? Oh, it is a light. I always try to put the bolts back in whatever I'm working on so you don't lose them. Now we're going to cut here and here to pop this. Nope, we're actually not, because that's welded in there. So I probably won't use this backside because with it welded in there to get all that separated. Of course, then again, I could keep that bracketry in there. So I think what I'm going to do, got the backs of these about where they need to be. I think I'm going to cut this right there. Separate this from there and cut through everything and see what I got. Grab my ear bumps. All right. So now I can grind this, clean all that up, and looks like it should line up pretty good. A little bit of finagling, that's okay. I'm gonna confirm with the customer the angle that he wants this plate though, because if that might be about right. All right, so we will clean this up. I'm gonna get a wrench and pop this out though. All right. Pop this thing out of here. Kind of a cool little light actually. Again, we'll put this back on here so we don't lose it. I say we like there's somebody else here. There isn't, it's just me. Sometimes you gotta talk to yourself. All right. I'm gonna get a new roll-lock disc. Well, maybe not. This one's a little broken, but probably fine. really pretty good for kind of eyeballing it like I did. But these gaps and stuff, I'm not really worried about that. Obviously, when you're TIG welding, tighter the gap, the better, but I can fill a little bit. That's not a problem. Just gonna clean the back of this off real quick. All right. Just gonna tape this on here. Just to kind of see exactly where I'm at. This. Probably gonna tack this together right around here, and then do several other tacks, and then I'll probably cut a line with the grinder, and then you have two perfectly matching surfaces for welding. That'll be good, and that matches up. We can take this over to the welder. This is my setup. This is a Vulcan ProTig 200, 100 amps, CFH, tank pressure, tank all the way open, tank straight all the way open, I mean. I'm gonna use ER 706 mild steel. All right, I'm gonna TIG weld this. I do have a little bit of a gap there, but should probably close up a little bit. Plus I'll hammer and dolly along the way. I'm just stitching it together like you would with a MIG welder. I'm gonna go hammer dolly this into shape a little more. I got all that welded on there. It's probably not the prettiest because I had such a huge gap, but that's all right. That's all gonna get covered in filler. I've ground it all down, sanded it with some of this SEM 80 grit. So now I'm gonna flip it over and weld that on there. Pieces of tape, tape that washer into place, and I'll tack it, remove the tape, and then I'll TIG weld around it. If I had the ground on. All right, we got a tack on there. Remove the tape. And now I can weld it. Which I'm not entirely sure how I'm gonna do that. All right, so we got that welded on. We got that welded on. And now we can skim coat this, all this stuff, and get all that body worked so I can prime it. Just mixing some filler up. I'll put this directly over the metal. You can weigh your hardener. I usually don't. Never had a problem ever with body filler chipping or like flaking off or anything like that. Try to mix it so there's no air in it. Air bubbles, air pockets. That's why I kind of do this and then push out all the air. So it's smooth, there's no air in it. Make sure it's all mixed up good. We'll drill this hole out after. So if we get some filler in there, it doesn't matter. This probably looks like a lot, but you know, most of it gets sanded off. Just want to get everything coated real good. I know this looks crude, but once I refine it, it won't. up along those lines there. If you do that, it's just going to be easier to sand it to get it nicer. Anybody that says they don't use filler on their stuff, if they're going to paint it, they're probably lying, because you pretty much, if you do stuff like this, you pretty much have to coat the whole thing in filler if you want it nice. You can spend hours and hours and hours metal finishing stuff, you know, with a hammer and dolly and a file, and that's fine if somebody wants to pay for that, but generally, body filler holds up, it lasts forever. I mean, I've chipped body filler out of, I've chipped 60-year-old body filler out of cars that you would never even know they had filler in them, so if you do it right and don't get too crazy with it, it's fine. And there's people that say, oh, I'd never buy anything with body filler, or they probably don't know what they're talking about, because, you know, body filler is pretty crucial. So now we just let this harden. I will sand it. I might need another round of filler, probably not though, more than likely. I'll sand it, you want to feather out all the edges, and then I'll get it in primer. I'll spray epoxy on it. I'll let it sit overnight. I'll scuff it with a red Scotch-Brite, which you don't have to do, but I always like to scuff it regardless. They say you have X number of days for a window, but I generally like to scuff it, and then I'll use regular high build primer on it, and then let that sit a day, block it, prime it again, and then this will be ready. So, all right, so now we're just gonna use this DA with this blue sem paper. Again, that's what it is. And we're gonna sand most of this mud, and then I'll fine tune it by hand. Now we can really kind of see what we have going on here. Sandpaper by hand here. Need some more right there, a little right there. Probably just gonna give the whole thing a very light coat, and then I won't use the air sander. I'll just use a block by hand and really tune it. All right. I usually try to wipe these off, save them. Some people throw them in like a can of paint thinner. I just usually wipe them off. All right, now we gotta let that dry, and then I'll fine tune it with my block with 80 grit by hand. All right. Now we're just gonna sand this down. This is 80 grit, SEM. Just a Durablock, which will work fine for this. Crosshatch pattern always. I was worried about that. Here's this one. that out. Little high spot in the middle there. Knock this down a little bit. pretty good. So that's pretty much ready for primer. I will drill out this hole quick though. That needs that little notch for the thing that sits in here that Harley has. They a little bit of a thing there. All right, now we can prime it. Not bad. I'll block it with 180, fix anything I don't like, and then reprime it again tomorrow or the day after. All right, so that's a video on cutting the back of the fender off, welding on another part of a fender, welding it, grinding it, smoothing it, priming it. I'm going to do a video on painting that too. It's going to be like a two-tone and have some variegated leaf. It should be pretty cool. Hopefully it doesn't destroy it in the first week of having it. Bradley, talking to you. Because he rides wheelies and he's super hard on everything, which is fine. If there's anything anybody else wants to see specifically, let me know. I'm going to try to do one video a week, starting with that. I'm going to get some meta glasses so I can do better videos. And just share the knowledge I have. Some people may not agree with how I do stuff. I don't really care. That's how I do it. Done it like that for 20 years. It works just fine. So any other questions, just ask me and I'll answer them. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like the video. The more you watch the video, the more it helps me out. So thanks again.